What's up guys, Merry Christmas, it's Steve here from the crew at SKarTaZ, and today I just wanted to talk to you about the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds 1.0 update that went live today. Now I know what you're thinking, 1.0, it's finished, woo! Well, not exactly, so I should probably explain. Let's get right into it. So the 1.0 update means that PUBG has now officially left early access and is in the beta phase of its development. Now that's slightly bonkers if you ask me, as it's released on console, but that's a whole other topic for another video. Now naturally the update has brought with it a swathe of changes and improvements, some of which I will list for you here. So we've got client optimization, optimized terrain data to reduce memory usage, optimized textures to reduce memory usage, optimize the sea by reducing wave effects, didn't even know it really had wave effects, reduce the lag issue when multiple players are in sight, that's a big one, optimized character animations, decrease memory usage of characters, added LODs to further optimize weapon rendering for long distance, number of other optimizations and world effects, UI elements, reduce the lag when terrain is loading, decrease terrain loading time itself as well, which is another big one. One I'm not quite sure has worked, however, as you'll see in this video that I'm recording in the background here. They've completely redesigned the lobby background and the UI. Some of you guys that were playing on the test servers recently would have already seen most of the changes to those UI elements because they were in the test server. It's very, very similar to the UI on the console version of the game. One of the big things that they've now included is the replay saving. So, well, in fact, the replay function in all. So they've now added this replay function which can record up to 1 kilometer around your character. So when you die, it records a 1 kilometer radius, sort of like 360 cam type thing that you can then watch back from the perspective of the person that killed you. But then you get some admin cam type controls where you can then fly around, see all sorts of other perspectives and see exactly what was going on around you when you died, which is really, really awesome. I think we can all attest to how frustrated we've been getting killed when we have no idea where it came from, just some lucky Kar 98 shot when you've got no lid on from 500 meters away. Oh, you're dead. Brilliant. There is, of course, a number of other inclusions as well. We've got a whole load of new weapons that have been added. We've got the DP28, the AUG A3, the R45, I think that's the handgun, that's Miramar exclusive, and the Win94, it's like a Winchester shotgun. I picked it up in the video that you're watching now. I don't think I fired it though, which is another Miramar exclusive. And of course the sawed-off shotgun, which I think everyone's had quite good fun playing with. That's pretty awesome. The Kar 98 will no longer be included in care packages, and the R1895 will not spawn in Miramar. I've just remembered as well, of course, the new ghillie suit has been added to the care package, but I don't think there's been much information about what that actually looks like. We've got 3 new vehicles as well, which again, if you've been playing on the test servers, you will have tried out. You've got the van, which is basically like a VW camper van. It's really, really slow, but quite novelty. It's quite good fun to bounce around in. It's like land yachting. We've got the pickup truck, which is cool, and the aqua rail, which is basically just a jet ski, but pretty cool, very nippy. Of course, we've got the motorcycle and buggy skins for the Miramar map, which look kind of Far Cry-esque. If you ask me, I think they look really, really cool. Now, the other massive addition, the huge one, the one that we've all been waiting for, of course, is the vaulting and climbing animations. Vaulting and climbing is now in the game. I had great fun testing that out on the test server a couple of weeks ago with my brother Chris. It was a little bit buggy even then, sort of catching on door frames and window frames, and it was a bit janky. But I had a quick play around with it in the video that you're watching now, and it seemed alright. It seemed pretty good. I didn't really use it as much as I probably should. I'm still not quite used to the idea of being able to just vault over stuff. Instead of having to crouch jump over it or go around it. I'm sure that will come quite quickly with practice and experience, but using it was pretty slick, I must say. It was very cool. Now, in addition to that, there have been some gameplay changes and some balancing changes. The big one for gameplay is a complete overhaul of the ballistics in the game. So projectiles fired from firearms are now affected by air drag. This means that projectiles will now lose velocity over time, leading to greater bullet drop and longer travel time. Now, I'm all for this, personally, as the frequent recipient of laser beam sniper shots. It's nice to know that sniping in particular now will actually get a little bit harder, and hitting those moving targets will be infinitely harder, much more like perhaps Battlefield, like the difference between Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 or 4, if you guys played those games, it suddenly got a lot harder to actually shoot people that were moving. Hit areas have now been modified, and the neck is protected by the helmet. Damage to the chest area is increased. Base damage is now modified by weapon class, and the actual damage is now taking into account following multipliers. So that's the base damage stat of the weapon, distance travelled by the projectile, so that sounds like damage drop off over distance, the hit area damage multiplier, weapon class multiplier. Bullets now penetrate water based on the velocity of the projectile, so the faster the velocity, the more shallow the penetration, which is very cool. That's much like real world ballistics. It's kind of counterintuitive if you've seen it a lot in the movies, where people dive under the water and then the bad guys like shoot into the water and the bullets go all the way through. Doesn't actually happen. The faster the projectile is moving, and the more pressure it causes on the water in front of it, which causes it to basically turn into a temporary solid, and the projectile just obliterates. There was a really cool Mythbusters episode on this actually, where they had like a ballistics gel dummy just under the surface of the water. It was only like 6 inches, I think, underneath. They fired a 50 cal at it from the diving board, and it didn't even touch the dummy. It was like hitting a solid object, whereas some of the slower projectiles, that they had quite a low powered Full Metal Jacket 9mm round, that went really far in. It went all the way to the bottom of the pool in one piece. So very cool that they've taken that into consideration and put that in the game as well. In terms of weapon balancing, they've decreased the fire rate of the SKS and the Mini 14. Not really too much of a problem for me with the SKS because the recoil on it's just so ridiculous anyway. But the Mini 14 has been OP as hell since they put it into the game, so I'm sure most people will actually welcome that change. They've increased the damage of the Kar98 and the M24 and reduced the damage of the AWM, which is quite interesting. Sort of brought all the damage of those three weapons back on a sort of level playing field. Increased slightly the drag effect of the M24. Definitely needed that. That's turned that, made it a lot less effective or easier to use, I suppose, because it was a bit of a laser beam. Increased the drag effect on my much beloved Kar98 though. Very upset about this. Everybody loves to use the Kar98, me especially. It's an absolute monster. It's now going to be harder to use over greater distances. Now there's loads and loads of other changes here which I won't get into. I'll include the patch notes in the description of the video down below. There's tons and tons of different changes to how the brightness is on some of the scopes and reticles work, the variable zoom on 8 times and the 15 times, how the reticles have changed on some of the on the scopes as well, zeroing distances, blurring around the outside of scopes and things like that. We won't get into that because the list is very, very long. The last series of changes are to the vehicles. So vehicle driving balance is modified. Vehicle driving is adjusted to be more realistic. I don't think they'll ever really get it realistic, to be honest. Improved the vehicle and passenger animations. Added the ability to bandage and boost while in a vehicle, only for passengers. So bloody excited about that. I cannot tell you how frustrating it can be to those of you guys that haven't played this game much, how you can't, or how frustrating it is to not be able to bandage and med up whilst you're just sat doing nothing in the passenger seat of a vehicle. It's now in the game, and they've unified the sizes of all UAZ models. The number of seats decreased to 4. Now, I'm actually a little bit disappointed about that, because some of the most hilarious PUBG videos on the entire internet are when a squad of 4 get into a UAZ, and there's some sneaky bugger sat in the middle seat, waits for them to stop, pops out and hoses them all down. I think it's absolutely hilarious. That will no longer happen now with full squads of 4. There could be some interesting scenarios to come out of that, though, when perhaps there is someone hiding in the back of a UAZ. A squad of 4 try to hop in and one of their squad members can't get in. How are they going to quickly work out who's in which seat and which one of them is the infiltrator? So all in all, guys, quite a big load of changes there. It's obviously balanced a load of stuff in the game, improved the performance, improved lags, improved frame rate, and all that sort of stuff, which is all great. But the game's still nowhere near finished. It sounds a little bit odd to be calling this the 1.0 update when the game is still only in the beta phase of its development. So we'll wait with bated breath for future updates, patches, performance improvements, content additions and whatnot. We will of course cover all of that on the channel, and I'm going to be playing plenty of PUBG over the next few weeks, even over Christmas. Now that the new update is out, some of my friends who haven't got quite as good a PC as some of us guys in the Can't Pause This crew will be able to come online and play with us much more easily. I've had all sorts of complaints from the guys saying, well, we don't want to play PUBG, we have to play it on low settings. Shouldn't be so much of an issue. You should be able to see from the video that is playing behind this commentary. It should have, I think, the frame rate counter in the top left, which you can keep an eye on. If not, the frames have increased, I can tell you that much, by about 20 to 25 frames on average, I would say. I'm playing with almost everything on Ultra at 1440p with a GTX 1070, and normally we get in the region of 60 to 70 frames. It's more in the 85 to sort of 90-95 region now. Even playing on the Miramar map here, which is definitely not as optimized as the vanilla map. So that was all for today, guys. I don't think this commentary is going to be as long as the video, so I'll just let the video play in the background. It gives you a sort of fair assessment, I suppose, of how some of the stuff's changed in the game. You can see some of the weapon balancing changes with the Kar 98 that I picked up, some of the slight graphical improvements, and of course the performance. You should see a lot less stuttering and drops in the frame rate compared to before this update. So I'll just let the video play, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.